Hi, my name is Frank Schaefer. In the 1970s and 80s, I was my dad, Francis Schaefer's sidekick. He was a famous religious right evangelist. We were hanging out with people like the evangelist Billy Graham and his son Franklin Graham later, who I knew as a kid, by the way, who now is a right-wing evangelical leader. People like Ralph Reed got into politics because of my father, Ralph Reed being an evangelical leader today. We helped Jerry Falwell found the Moral Majority, and now his son Jerry Falwell Jr. runs Liberty University and is a far-right evangelical who pushes for Donald Trump and supports him no matter what. I've talked before about my own personal shame for being part of this, even though I was a young man back in the day, foolish, greedy, stupid, following along in my dad's footsteps unthinkingly, pushing him even further in some of his extremism. But now I look back, I realize what we were doing is laying the groundwork for Donald Trump. You know, I got personal notes from Barbara Bush, from Ronald Reagan when my dad died, from Barbara Bush when she read some of my evangelical books, but then years later when she was reading some things I wrote about my son being in the Marine Corps, from her husband, President Bush, from W. Bush, when my son was a Marine serving in Afghanistan, and so forth. I have a long history with these folks, with what used to be called the conservative movement. Because of that, I happen to know some people who are associated with the Trump presidency. And I can't name names, but I can tell you something that's going to happen for sure. You heard it here, it will happen. Trump is going to tell another lie, one of his thousands of lies. This time it's going to be that he is taking responsibility not for helping us with the COVID epidemic, but for the creation of what he will call the miracle cure to the virus vaccine, the antivirus vaccine, etc. He's about to spring an October surprise, take the credit. He and Jared Kushner right now are conspiring with some of their people inside the White House and outside of the White House in Big Pharma and other organizations to ram through untested or insufficiently tested a vaccine miracle that he will spring on the American public in October. It's coming. He will do it. You heard it here. He will say that he takes credit for this. Remember, he put his name on the check you got for government relief that was spending our tax dollars, giving it back to us. He said it was his gift to us, put his name on it. He takes credit for everything that he doesn't do and won't take responsibility for everything he does do. The second thing he is doing is he has put someone in charge of the post office who is one of his major donors, who's a far-right shill. I know people who know him. He's a total whack job. He's another one of these multimillionaires, right-winger, libertarians who believes that he's God's gift to humankind. He's in charge of the post office with the express instructions from Donald Trump to destroy the organization to the point where it can no longer do its function of delivering the mails efficiently so that people will begin to doubt the result of the election. He wants it delayed. He wants it delayed to the point where it takes 2 to 3 weeks to count the ballots. He can go to the Supreme Court, contest the election, say it was rigged, call out his mob of armed militias and others to make trouble in the streets, claim that he's saving America by staying in office. This is going to happen. He is right now deconstructing the post office. And by the way, a little caveat, a footnote here. Since when does the U.S. Post Office need to turn a profit to legitimize itself? That's like saying, why don't the Marines or the Navy or the Air Force make a profit? Because they're not goddamn businesses. They're government agencies that are put there to make our lives easier, like road building and all the rest of it, air traffic control and so forth, so the rest of us can earn our livings and make a profit. That's what government is for, right-wing morons. Government agencies don't need to make a profit, nor does the post office. That's such bullshit. That said, right now it's being undermined deliberately. For the first time in American history, as a political ploy, there is someone in charge of a major agency, the post office. It's like putting someone in charge of the IRS with the express instructions to undermine tax collection because you want America to go bankrupt. Or put someone in charge of Social Security with the express instructions to destroy the system so elderly people, retired people can no longer live. It is that blatant. Put those two things together. I'm saying it again. I know people on the inside. Trump and Jared Kushner right now, as I talk, are working to spring on the American public a miracle vaccine that will not have gone through the testing protocols that are normal. where their non-scientific scientists, people who talk bullshit, snake oil salesmen like them, say that it's great and everything's fine. That's what's coming. There will be a real vaccine. And by the way, I am not an anti-vaxxer. I think they are crazy, screwed up people. That's not what I'm talking about. A real vaccine's coming, and I'll be in line to take it. But it won't be in October, and it won't be in November. It'll be sometime next year. And pray to God, it's when Joe Biden is president, if he can get through all this BS. So we have real regulatory regime back in place that protects our water supply and our air and stops the pollution and the degradation of our planet and gold mining in Alaska, nature reserves, and all the rest of it. Well, this is part of that, but this is deliberate. I say it again. Kushner is in charge of ramming through a vaccine before it is properly tested, with people who are in cahoots with him inside Big Pharma, with people who are in cahoots supposedly running the agencies that make sure this doesn't happen. And you're saying far-fetched? No. Look at the post office. That's far-fetched too. To put a man in charge of the USPS with the express instructions to so gum up the works that it adds to Trump's idea of an argument after the election that he didn't lose because, look, mail-in ballots didn't work. The whole system's rigged. Let's just call it all off. I'm staying in office. I'm going to the Supreme Court with a case that this wasn't a legitimate election. This is going to happen. Vaccine rammed through before it's ready, claimed as an October surprise to turn the election. Post office screwed up on purpose. I'm not making this up. I know people in Washington that I go way back with, to my conservative days. They know this is happening. Thank you. My name is Frank Schaefer.